How you doing, everybody? Hi, John and underachiever. Hey, no idea. How you doing? Stefan, right? Javi, how are you? Tony. Uh, Hi, Andrew. Oh, man. My got my COVID isolation haircut back. Hi, Indrajit. How are you? Uh, let's see. Sorry, can't make it this morning. Cut with work at home. Okay, John, take care. Thanks for dropping by anyway. Oh, hey, DGB, how are you? We got, hi, Clyde. How's it going, man? Dwayne, good morning. That's a nice sunshine you got there. Hi, El. Brevity. Orange Hand, how are you? Oh, evening there. Okay. Here it's 8 o'clock in the morning and elsewhere. Jean-Claude, Richard, how are you? Mr. Valjoux, Roar the Tiger. I think maybe we all ought to have simple names like Alpha, Beta, and so forth, and then we'll have Alpha, Beta 1, Alpha, Beta 2 later on. Oh, well, let me tell you what I thought would be an interesting topic, and sort of I, this was floated before, and people had a lot of really good comments about a lot of things. First of all, the topic is okay. What are some alternatives to Swiss watches? Now, a long while ago, I did this video on how Switzerland became a center for watchmaking. And so it was during the French Wars of Religion, shortly after the Reformation, and what were called at the time, everything, the Puritans, the Huguenots, and then various versions of the Catholics in France and also in Spain. And they were fighting over religion, just sort of going nuts. And they ended up fleeing to Switzerland, because at the time Switzerland was somehow sort of open to everybody. There was this woman I met from Geneva who was Catholic and was telling me, she said, well, if you go to Geneva, what you're going to see is you'll see the Protestant churches to be very austere, and the Catholic churches to be very decorative. Now, the point that it really sort of shows the impact of what was his name? Jean Calvin, and one of the Calvinist groups that was sort of fled Europe were the Puritans, or they were called the Puritans. Was not a complimentary name, and so they said, "Well, heck with you guys, we're coming over to the U.S." And what Calvin did, Calvin was running, he was pretty much in charge of Geneva at the time. He said, okay, guys, we're going along with the Reformation and this very strict kind of, no decorations and stuff. We're not going to be worshiping golden idols and so forth. And so the goldsmith and a lot of other people who worked on jewelry were sort of like, man, what are we going to do? And so they said, oh, okay, well, listen, they were very big on time and, sort of nose to the grindstone kind of attention either to work or to God or both together. And so this became a huge place for gathering in a lot of the French Huguenots who happened to also be goldsmith or jewelry makers of some sort. So this is one of the reasons that Switzerland became sort of a refuge. Now, at the same time, this brought in people from all over the world, and not all over the world, more all over Europe. Any kind of in certain parts from Germany and also from France. Those are the two big ones, but also from Italy. And so today there's sort of three major groups and a minor group in Switzerland made up of the French, Germans, Italians, and Romans. So that aside, and if any of you are from Switzerland and want to correct me, be my guest. All right, my background in Swiss culture is that I used to date a Swiss. I had a Swiss girlfriend years ago. Anyway, so I thought, well, let's take a look at some other watches that aren't Swiss, and if we look at the history of it, at one time. If you the really some of the centers of watchmaking were England and also Holland, the Netherlands, and some of the really big mines that came out of there were in that. Now, this is my watch from the Netherlands from Christian van der Klaw, and the only part of it that's actually Dutch is the moon phase, which was the old Christian van der Klaw, and the rest of it is ETA. I found out later. I thought it was Sopron, which was really sort of a combination of Swiss Japanese, sort of a Seiko remake of the 4L, but it's not. And so a lot of times, we say, okay, well, let's look around and see what we can find. What do we have? One of the most interesting things I found out was that the most common more movements in the world are Chinese made. In China, they've been doing a bang up job at places like Siegel. So and of course the Japanese have some really besides Seiko, there are some independent watchmakers that are doing some interesting stuff. Same in China, same in Malaysia too. I think Ming watches are from Malaysia. So then we have Germany, we have France. France has some very interesting watchmakers now that are coming up. England. I wish England had more. I'm not picking on English, but it's like, I'll pick on English. When I interviewed, what's his name? English, the guy who heads up Bremont. This was like years ago. We have a video on it. And I said, well, you guys are going to make your own movement. Yeah, we're working on it. They still don't have their own movement. I wish they did. Okay. Well, yeah, Roar the Tiger. Let's see, you're back. Flippin' Zippo, Apathy Boy. Do you see Japanese watches as an alternative? Certain ones, yeah. Groenfield, Longa, Grand Seiko. Groenfield, yeah. Longa. I like Lang. That I think is Lang and Heim. I don't know what happened there as far as, you have sort of art versus business, and as always, art always loses. Always, craftsmanship always is like mass production versus that. Okay, hi Dwayne. Adam Smith, Economics, Isle of Man, Invisible Hand by Roger, Coaxial Movement. There you go. Yeah, but the problem, Dwayne, with guys like Roger Smith, they make wonderful watches. I mean, incredible watches. But one a month, and you got a 15-year waiting list. Hey, MGM. Yeah, Ming's from Kuala Lumpur. Hi, Orange. Bremont. I think that's what it is. Forgot the guy's name. Really super nice guy from who heads up Bremont. Hey, Gary, how you doing? Capital. Speaking of non-Swiss watches, do you have an update from Marco Lang? His website states that would have an announcement in October. Capital, no, the last time I queried Marco, he said that there's so many things going on right now with the COVID. I mean, it's like in the United States and in Europe, there's like boom. It's came roaring back again. And that's how come I have my COVID haircut. I'm not going out if I can help it. Hey, Tony, do you know anything about Stefan Ketelaars from the Netherlands? A little, yeah, young guy. He's working on uses ETAs. That's probably going to flip over to Solida, maybe Soprod or Concepto, one of those. First real international boom for the Swiss was counterfeited English watches at the end of the Napoleonic Wars. Thanks, Howard. That's great. Yeah, I know. The Swiss, I don't want to go into the ethics of the Swiss bankers. Okay, we'll leave that for another time. Hey, Nico, how are you? How are things in Italy? By the way, too, Italian watches, that's another one. The funny thing is you have a lot of Italian name watches like Parmigiani and Panerai. But I think a lot of them are made in Switzerland. So I don't know. Still no powers in the office. Monday will be 2 weeks. Holy smoke, Clyde! There was a big storm down in Oklahoma, and the power's still out in certain parts of it. Hate it when the power goes out. Hey, Stephen from Montana. How are things doing there? Let's see. Royal Tiger, Lithuanian made, Vostok, Europe. Yeah, that was sort of interesting, Roar, is that a lot of Russian watches came to be made in Lithuania. Or maybe they were Lithuanian and were given credit to the Russians. Loving Fears watches. I don't know them. UK based. I would like. Okay, why would I like them? The ones I wish that. What would be neat if I've got some things up my sleeve. What I would like to see is the most basic mechanical movement, a good one, that was that you wound up with a key. And so all you could see if you looked at the back of it, was that you could see the gear train, and you could see a great big balance wheel because there's no keyless works to get in the way, and just sort of as a base, and made out of brass maybe or something like that. Maybe steel would be better. I don't know. But that would be cool. And then you could add things to it. I know that Harboring 2, there's one. They're from Austria. They're not Swiss. Their plan was way back when, and I think they were using Valjoux-based movements at the time. And then they wanted to have these modules. And so somebody could buy a Harboring 2, and they say, oh, I decided I want to have a dual time. There's no problem. They'd take it in, add the dual time module to it, and then send it back, and with a not nominal, but less than buying more watches. Hi, Hans. Marco Lang told me it will take some more weeks. Yeah, that was pretty much what I heard, and it was nothing definite. And like I said, is that here you have this pandemic sort of coming back again, as we were told it would in the wintertime. And so, you can't be stupid about this thing, man. Way too many people have been killed by that thing. Does Swiss made really even matter anymore? To some people, it does. I mean, it was like, to some it does, not as much as it used to. I think it depends on, the less you know about watches, I think the more important it is. Now, this is not saying anything against Swiss watchmaking, because it's still, I mean, look at the, you have, Kari Vuotenlainen, and yeah, he's from Finland, but his whole business is in Switzerland, and some of these other ones who are French or something else, or Italian, with different kinds of nationalities, all are still working in Switzerland. This is what makes it, I guess, somewhat difficult. Somebody pointed out there's the difference between the French watches in the western part of Switzerland around Geneva, and it's a big French influence in how the style was versus the more toward the western part, where you had more of a German influence, such as H. Moser and Staffelhoff. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think whatever it's pronounced, but they have more Stuart. And I look at it, there's something to that. Counter to the theme of this show, I traded a Grand Seiko reference for an Omega Mark II. I have worn the Omega more in a week than I did the GS in a year. Swiss watches are still right up there. Oh yeah, no, this isn't. I didn't want to say, okay, Swiss watches aren't as good as they used to be. Nothing like that. I just sort of, what are some really good alternatives that we might consider? I don't know what's, Christian Vander Claw is that they're renowned for their complications. Val. No, Val. Hey, Flipper Zippo. They're known for their complication, but the base on this is an ETA Swiss. Okay, what do you got? Hey, Rolf Lang. Yeah, that's what I got on, by the way. I have on the Rolf Lang. This is sort of the wandering Rolf Lang that a lot of us, the baker's dozen, I guess. We had that. His stuff, I'm not sure what Rolf was doing. I'm really not. He's got these watches, but I think that he is teamed up with some other people. This one designer, I think from, she's Asian, and he built this beautiful, from ground up watch, and it's a woman's watch. And God, I wish he had a men's version of it. It's just incredible. But, so I don't know what he's going to be doing with that. Hi, Plunker, doing well this morning. We've got this incredibly good weather. Howard was telling me it's 97 degrees in Phoenix today. Here it's going to be 75. Now, we had snow about a week ago, so 75 is most welcome. The best part about it is it dries out all the leaves. I'll be getting the leaves cleaned up today. So, hey, Lee, how are you? BB, German, French, English, Chinese, Japanese. Okay. Swiss made, built in Detroit, Shinola out. Okay, yeah, Shinola. This is something I think I'd really like to see if the Americans are really doing stuff. I'd like to see some movements. I know that, oh God, I keep forgetting, Murphy, Roland Murphy. His stuff, he has one, but it's something that he charges a lot for, and I'd like to see more movement. There's another guy in Oregon who makes his own movements too. I forgot his name. Really beautiful watches also. That I'd like to see in any country, but it to a great extent, other than Switzerland and Germany, it seemed to be more of a hobby-ish kind of pursuit. It's the old joke about how to make a little money in the watch business. The answer is start with a lot, and I think that is the real problem. Also, too, you have these big luxury companies, and they are big and powerful. That incredible stuff that they have. But they own everything. Everyone's familiar with Richemont. Richemont one thing, they don't care who they buy from. Same thing with Citizen. Citizen owns, who is it? Frederick Constant and a few other Swiss names, but they keep them being built in Switzerland, whereas some of the real important parts. It's 8:16 a.m. Thank you. I wasn't sure. I got to keep my eye on my watch. This is an accurate watch, so it's sort of cool. Bolivar's home used to be in Fresh Meadows, Flushing, New York, former site of the 1939 and 1964 World Fair. Oh, that's interesting. getting ready for, oh my God. William, where are you located? Tropical Storm Eta. Jeez. What are you guys down in Louisiana or Texas coast? Shakeland is creative. Yeah, I like his stuff. Also, too, I think that Sven Anderson is another one I really like. I believe he's Danish, but I'm not sure if his business is now in Switzerland or not. We'll trade tornadoes for hurricanes any day of the week. Okay. We want none of the above. There's a place that is often denigrated by a lot of people. That's El Paso, Texas. It's another mile high city, and it's up in the Franklin Mountains, which is sort of the toe of the Rockies. But they have no deadly weather there. Sometimes they have something that's really funny. And there's when it rains mud balls, is that they get a windstorm going, then a rain comes in, and the rain and the dust, and the rain drops mud balls, but they have no deadly weather other than that. German ALNS is second to none. Come on, man. I don't think so. I think they have some good stuff, but I don't think they're second to none. But after they were bought by Richemont, I think they lost some of their edge. That's my opinion. Now, this isn't to say they're terrible watches, because they're not. They're brilliant watches. But a lot of the really interesting stuff that they used to do, they quit doing. Hey, Superman. Pete Gurr. I think Germany has some great watchmakers. I agree. Would Hamilton sell better if they were still made in the USA? I don't know. They're like Hamilton and some of the great old American watches just are gone now. They're not, Americans. I don't think. I think we become way too business oriented. So, hey, Addis, Citizen Chronomaster. Those are nice watches. The keys, William, I'm not sure who they are or what that is. Lucian. Oh, but I have the blue Canaletto. Oh, do you? Oh, wow. I didn't know that. But but that must be beautiful. I'd really like to see that. This is a gray Canaletto, that in case you were wondering what I was talking about. I just spent $17,000 on new hurricane windows. Yikes. Hamilton pocket watches were neat. Yeah, they are. This is one of the things that Roland Murphy of RGM did, was that he took some of these old movements from companies like Hamilton, and it was sort of trying to revive them into an American version. And the Americans talk about they're more Calvin, I think, than the Swiss. What they did with it, they made very practical kind of things, like the rail masters, and sort of that whole railroad thing that they had going. It wanted the trains on time. Yeah, Hamilton and Elgin were great watches. There was forgot the name of it, but I have a watch. My stepson gave me a watch that had it was like a Mickey Mouse watch or something, and it had an old American watchmaking company. I traced it down, and I traced it to England of all places, but it turned out that it was really owned by a company in China. I think the Siegel 1963 is an unbeatable fact. Yeah, this is something, Clyde, and I think for everybody is that, there's sort of like Chinese, they're cheap, well, they don't know anything about them, but they, if you look at them, the finishing isn't great. Even the metallurgy isn't great in a lot of places. But on the other hand, I think the Chinese watches are really going places. I really do. I think that would be a one to look at. There was this one guy in the independent group, this Chinese watchmaker. Wow, his stuff was really great. See if I can find one cheap. And so he comes out with one It was in the Grand Prix. And it was $30,000. Oh, forget about it. A lot of people don't even know that other countries in Switzerland make good watches. That's probably true. I mean, people we have not. Sometimes I think Americans are the only ones that are clueless, but it's not true. It's worldwide. We're all clueless. Indrajit is Keaton Mickrich, the watchmaker from Oregon. You were talking about. I think it is Indrajit, and his stuff. He's very sort of quiet. You don't hear much about him. But yeah, I think he's the one. And I've looked at his watches. They're really nice. I have 2 Hamilton pocket watches and 1 Elgin. Tony, are those from the old days or newer ones? The 63 is great. Fine Timepiece Solutions, aka AmeriQuest, has a high-tech 80,000 square foot factory in Fountain Hills, Arizona, devoted to quartz movement manufacturers. They supply American micrographs. That's interesting, Howard. I didn't know that. Ingersoll Mickey Mouse watch. Val, that is exactly it. And it's a great looking watch, and they have the official Disney mouse on there and everything. Siegel is a Venus. That's right. Yeah, Rod, you're right about that. The Siegel, at some point, there was some kind of deal that they had. This was a long time ago, and they ended up with a Venus movement, which had been a Swiss movement. That's exactly right. What are your thoughts on Minazzi watches? Addis, I don't know them. That I think I may have heard of them, but I really don't know much about them. The Speedy Moon watch was not made on the moon. True fact. I hear new stuff all the time. Will Rolex precious metal watches become gold rubble like those of the old Elgin watches from the 40s? Nothing against Elgin. Nothing against Elgin. What about Rolex? I don't know. Yeah, the thing is I remember when, for years, Americans couldn't buy gold. If you wanted gold, you had to get it from Canadian coins and stuff. And it was about this is back in the 70s, it was like $30 an ounce. And now it's like, I think it's very near $2,000 an ounce. I think the price has gone up because people are worried about the state of the world. Money's not going to be worth anything. Go buy a bunch of gold. Let's see. Yet again, I give it a few years, and Chinese watches become great watches. I think a lot of them are already DG, and I think they're the ones to watch. And this is what I think as voracious watch collectors we need to keep an eye on. Is that where's the next thing coming out? I was looking at a Christie's watch thing, an auction, and I saw this watch, and there's a story I remember about that. A few years ago, this guy had contacted me and say, what do you think of this watch? And I said, it's a fairly rare watch, and he told me what he had made a deal with it and everything and so forth. It says more about watch sellers than anything else. And if those who are buying and selling Rolexes with the intent of making a few bucks here and there, there's sort of another level of that where it's just gone crazy. Meteorite dials are out of this world. True fact. Jesus. See, Clyde's a bad influence on spelling, on everything. Siegel is a Venus 175. Yep, that's right, Clyde. It's I remember that there was a little Joaquin Binziger regulator blueback. Yeah, now isn't that regulator simply a 6498, an ETA 6498 that they left the minute hand and the second hands where they were, and they took the hour hand and they popped it up at the top. I think that's what they did. And if you look, that is, I've seen doing that as a project for the final school watch that a lot of watch students have made. Nothing wrong with that, because I couldn't do it. but I think is that we're not talking about, brilliant watchmaking. On the other hand, if you look at what this is before he had his own watch company, or one named after him, that's owned by the Sandoz Foundation, is that Michel Parmigiani made, I think it was a Breguet. It was like copying one of the ones that Abraham Breguet made. Just brilliant kind of work that he did. Okay. Twinex is my first in late 60s, Dwayne. I used to buy, the thing about Timex, I used to buy Timexes, wear them, they kept perfect time, and when they broke, they stayed broke. And so I just go buy another one till it broke. Oh, let's see. The new Ming Diver. I haven't seen that, Alice. I think that's a watch company that deserves attention. A lot of times they're places that we don't pay a lot of attention because not a lot of stuff is coming out of there. It's sort of like the difference between Glashütte and Dresden. I think the more interesting watches are starting to come out of Dresden, but then I found out that Dresden and Glashütte are pretty close together, much closer than I realized. Check out Quingan watches. They have some interesting movement. I think you'll like. There is some talk here in Hong Kong about them on the site. Okay, on the rise. Good. That's good to know. Well, I'm waiting for the Holy Diver from Ronnie James Dio. I don't know what that is. There's been a great escape from the election, which is a great escape from the election, which is running longer than a seven-game Lincoln series. Yes, indeed. When I was in Le Loc, 99% of the cars in front of the watch factories had French number plates. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. I wonder why. Maybe, there was a guy was telling me he went to, I forgot, I think it was Basel World or one of those, and they stayed in Germany because it was a lot cheaper than staying in Switzerland. And but they said every time they crossed the border, they got jammed up by the Border Patrol. Crazy. Your opinion of the new Caliber 400 from Oris. Love it. I would take Roger Smith over anything at the moment, but the new Seiko movement is an interesting, cost-effective option. Yeah, I agree Ian, I believe it's their coaxial, and it is beautiful. I really think it's great. I'm in Dresden at the moment, picking up my new grill. Oh man, what did you get, old bud? While you're there, you can pick me up a few too. Just send them in the mail. I hope we get them. Well, listen, guys, time is up. Clyde, you've been asleep at the wheel. Oh, you got a Georg. Oh God, those are the best watches. Hey Val, there was so many women in front of the Salida factory. One reason to get a Salida over ETA. Okay. Hey Richard, looking forward to getting my Ophium. Yes, I love those Ophium. Those are, that's another thing. Another thing I want to have a video on. We got to rethink this thing of in-house, and I'll tell you why. But I'm out of time here. Did you see the Benrus is being restructured out of New York City? No, I didn't know that. They're using Miyota automatics. What do you know? Okay, guys. King of the Kludge, how you doing, man? But it's time for us to go. I'll be back at 4:00. New York time. I say New York time because nobody knows where Bloomfield, Connecticut is. So hope to see you guys then. Hey, BG, one word, none. Kudos from Switzerland. Okay, BG.